Remember what they said in Russia about 106 years ago? It's not Russians that started the Bolshevik Revolution. So keep this in mind as we go through this. Her response is because they were deliberately unprepared. It was by design. It's an effort to vilify the right and label us domestic malicious people on a national level. Now it's part of the PSYOP for our alphabet agencies. And remember this potential bad acts threat, opposition to the tyranny of experimental treatments, claims of election fraud, belief Trump can be reinstated. No, he's not going to be reinstated. There's not civilly to be reinstated. And the thing is, the real right is way, way, way beyond Trump. Way beyond Trump. And 9/11 anniversaries and religious holidays are potential threats. That came out a few months ago. So now the media is forced to admit this because it's all over the place. And the far left Bolshevik-controlled media is trying to couch this in the best terms as possible. So New York Times, as the Proud Boys marched to the Capitol on J6, a member of the far-right group, well, you don't call far-left groups far-left groups. And if you think the Proud Boys are far right, I don't know what to say. It's like they keep using this N-word for people, the four-letter word of 1930s for people. And it's like, well, what are the what is the real far right? Oh, well, they're super duper N-words. You think the Proud Boys is far right? You have no idea what the far right is. You're calling like the soccer moms who stayed. They showed this one picture. It's like, people, keep in mind, the police opened the doors and let them in. 2, they were walking through those velvet ropes. 3, they were completely unarmed. And then 4, I guess they weren't masked or gloved. They weren't concealing their identity. Like, if you're at some event like this where you're all not masked, not gloved, not trying to conceal your identity, and then you see someone roll up who is completely covered, they're the glow ninjas in the trees. See, the thing is, when you do these kind of events, it can't just be something like you all randomly show up. You got to have like a core militia group with in-house security to take care of bad actors like that. Like somebody who's like, if it's an unmasked event and you get somebody who's masked, then you need to have your own security manage those, because those are glow ninjas. They glow in the trees, so you can get them at night. Anyway. So this informer gave the FBI an inside view that day, according to confidential records obtained by the New York. So, there's entrapment is very difficult legally to prove. People have way too much faith in that. But you could start looking at the proximate causation of this. Say but for their actions would have this event occurred. When the FBI gets so involved in these plans and schemes, it goes further along the line of, but for their actions, if they didn't instigate it, this wouldn't have happened. And people think the FBI can just show up at a group and insert themselves and slowly gain the confidence over years. There's no way they can do that. That would take years. It takes years. It takes man hours. You're paying somebody, essentially $200,000 a year or more once you add in all the benefits. They just can't spend a year gaining access to a group and hope that they're organically going to come on, friend, do a terror, because most groups just aren't going to do that. They'd be wasting so many man hours doing this. So this is the dirty secret behind this federal agencies, is they get into a likely group and they find the dumbest guys they can, guys who are to the left of the bell curve. And they just start instigating, and it's yes, approximately they did cause the events. They built a case using manipulating low IQ people into doing reconnaissance and stuff like this. Listen, if you're in a militia, you don't ever need to do any reconnaissance or any of these kind of. They try to entrap some Vietnamese guy into making Molotov cocktails, and he kept saying well, I don't know if that's legal. I'm gonna have to check with the one other alphabet agency who handles alcohol, tobacco, and firearms to see if a Molotov needs to be federally registered as a firearm or something. So he was actually saying yeah, I don't know if that's legal. I need to check with the federal agency first. So they didn't get him on that, but they kept kind of instigating these things, getting this guy to make Molotov cocktails. It's if you're in these groups, you don't need to practice making cocktails or doing reconnaissance or doing all these other glow ninja ops. The only thing you need to do is exercise and talk to each other. That's it. That's where this stage is. It's just exercise and talk to each other, make connections with people. Frustrate the glow ninjas, make them insane. And if they talk to you like this, if they're instigating, then just photograph them, video them, and then get them. I almost said get rid of them. I don't mean that kind of thing. I mean just get them, make them known that they're bad actors, and get them out of your group. Because the thing with forming militias is you can win a war without even firing a shot if you have the numbers. Like, if you've got such big numbers and you show up at an event, it's like you don't have to be armed because you've got 10,000 people there. So anyway, this event, to try to make this out to be an insurrection, it's like a bunch of soccer moms and grandmas who are unarmed, who were peacefully assembled, are they're the insurrectionists. Well, it's weird that nobody was charged with insurrection, is what I'm trying to say. Let me be careful here. I'm not advocating any illegal conduct. I'm trying to say that these glow ninjas who are advocating for illegal conduct, they're bad actors even if they're sincerely not glow ninjas, because if you have a big enough militia, you never need to pick up a rifle. You can win a battle without a shot being fired, is what I'm trying to say, because you can do it legally and civilly if the people see that the numbers are there. Like, if you have militias and the numbers are so there, it's a growing movement, then the puppet masters look at this one and go, oh, okay, they're going to try to goad you into firing that first shot, but you just don't ever need to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, your representatives are going to listen to 10,000 men in a militia more than they listen to 10,000 individual letters come in, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so among those who marched into the Capitol, why don't you show the photographs from inside the building? So isn't the obvious next question is then, why was no one prepared? Because they wanted it to happen. It was a big show. Yeah, these are these false flag operations, which, you hear that term, you think, oh, is this some kind of Alex Jonesy tinfoil thing? And then you look through history, you're like, oh my God, the people who run the government are the worst people on earth. Like, people who are attracted to power are the worst people on earth. They're the worst people to lead. The people who have good ideas and maybe are kind of academic-y but are definitely not attracted to power are usually the people to push to the forefront. The people who are pushing themselves to the forefront. And, that includes Trump. Like, if you think Trump is your guy, you're out of your friggin' mind. Yeah, these guys fell into a trap. So these kind of, like, at least the last trap, the January 25th or 26th thing they threw, like, nobody went to that. They knew that was glowing right from the start. A bunch of literally homosexual FBI agents were like the only ones in attendance. And this is a good point, is why were unarmed, nonviolent people considered a threat in the first place? And it says because they wanted to kidnap government officials. Well, why weren't they charged with conspiracy to commit kidnapping? Because it never happened. There's pictures of like 50 and 60-year-old unarmed people walking around. How are they going to accomplish this goal? Listen, if you told me 10,000 people showed up with 223s, and they were the ones doing this kind of stuff, you'd be like, okay, well, that's an elevated level. This is a bunch of boomers nobody took seriously. And the next question is, why'd the police let them in? Why'd the police pose? Not posing with them, because that's like trying to mitigate damage. There's all kinds of excuses for that. Opening the doors and gaining them access. It's like, were they under threat of force? No, that building is secured. It has double doors. That thing is built to secured. If those doors weren't unlocked, you're not getting through. Capitol Police, open the doors. Was it like 3 or 4 Capitol Police self-deleted in the past 6 months? The media doesn't have a problem with that. The media is not your friend. I mean, you know who controls the media. The government's not your friend. You know who controls the government. I mean, what do you do when the call is coming from inside the house? That means the bad guy's in the house with you, and you're on. Anyway, if you watch those 80s movies. What do you do when the government's the bad guy? Well, the Founding Fathers had written about what to do in the event of tyranny. They had, you can read the writings of the Founding Fathers to kind of get an idea of what George Washington thought. He said you should be prepared. You should have arms and ammunition sufficient to, I don't know, there's some famous quote about George Washington. There's actually a lot of famous quotes about the Founding Fathers talking about a well-armed militia. Individual man should be armed sufficient to, in case the need arises, where it comes time to defeat tyranny. The Founding Fathers envisioned this, and it was a few hundred years later, but they envisioned this. And it's like, you talk like this now, you can't get the FBI knocking on your door. I don't think they'll kick down the door for this, but, get the FBI knocking on your door, at least if you had a bigger channel. It's like, literally quoting the Founding Fathers, quoting the Constitution, that the writings that led to the Constitution is suddenly problematic. Well, that's when you know the country needs a course correction. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Don't do anything illegal. And I will see you guys all. Click the links for different platforms and for Discord and that kind of stuff. And do not Fed post in the Discord, even if it's funny.